The first time Kael Ardens saw her, she was standing in the middle of a crowded train station, completely still. Everyone else moved like rushing. Water-blurred faces hurried, footsteps, loud voices, but she didn't move at all. She just stood there, watching him. Kael frowned. It wasn't unusual for strangers to make eye contact, but there was something wrong about this moment, something unnatural, because she didn't look surprised to see him. She looked like she had been waiting. Kael stepped off the train, adjusting the strap of his worn backpack. The city of Velmora was louder than he remembered. Screens flashing announcements, echoing the scent of rain and electricity thick in the air. But still, he couldn't shake the feeling. That girl? She hadn't looked away. Even now, as he walked toward the exit, he could feel her gaze on his back like a shadow that refused to leave. Finally, he turned. She was gone. Great, Kael muttered, already imagining things. He rubbed his eyes and kept walking, convincing himself it was nothing, just another stranger in a busy place. But deep down, something didn't sit right, because for a moment, it felt like she knew him. That night, Kael couldn't sleep. Rain tapped softly against his window, the city lights flickering like restless thoughts. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. Her face, her eyes. There was no confusion in them, no curiosity, only certainty, as if she had seen him before. The next morning, everything changed. Kael woke up to a message on his phone. Unknown number. Don't go to work today. He blinked. What? Another message appeared. If you do, something bad will happen. Kael sat up, heart pounding slightly. Okay, not funny. He typed back quickly. Who is this? No reply. He waited. Nothing. After a few minutes, he shook his head. Spam has to be? Still, something about the message felt different. Too direct. Too specific. Kael stood in front of the mirror, tying his laces. Don't go to work today. He exhaled. Yeah, right. He grabbed his keys and left. The accident happened at 9:42 a.m. Exactly. Kael didn't even understand what was happening at first. One moment he was crossing the street thinking about coffee. The next, a deafening screech. A flash of metal. A car spinning out of control. And then, silence. When Kael opened his eyes, he was on the ground. People were shouting. Someone was calling for help. But none of that mattered, because standing right in front of him was her, the same girl from the station. Dark hair, pale skin, and eyes that looked like they carried too many secrets. She knelt beside him, completely calm. You shouldn't have come, she said softly. Kael stared at her, breath unsteady. You deep... His voice cracked. You sent that message? She didn't deny it. Instead, she sighed like someone who had seen this moment too many times. I tried to stop you. Kael pushed himself up, slightly ignoring the pain. How did you know this would happen? There was a pause. A long one. Then she looked straight into his eyes and said something that made his entire world freeze. Because I already lived this day. Kael's mind went blank. What dear? She stood slowly, her expression unreadable. You don't understand yet, she said. But you will. Wait, Kael reached out, but his hand trembled. Who are you? For the first time, she smiled. A sad, broken kind of smile. My name is Lyra Voss. She stepped back. And you are the only person who can change what is coming. Before Kael could say another word, she turned and disappeared into the crowd, just like before. And once again, she left him with more questions than answers. The ambulance lights painted everything in flashes of red and white. Kael sat on the edge of the sidewalk, barely hearing the paramedics speaking to him. His body ached, but his mind was somewhere else, stuck on her words. Because I already lived this day. It didn't make sense. It couldn't he. And yet she had known. The message. The exact time. The accident. This wasn't he luck. This wasn't he guessing. This was something else. Sir, can you hear me? Kael blinked as a paramedic waved a hand in front of his face. Yeah, I am fine. You're lucky, the man said. Another step forward and that car would hit you directly. Kael swallowed. Lucky. It didn't feel like luck. It felt like a warning he didn't understand. That night, Kael sat in his apartment staring at his phone. No new messages. No unknown number. No explanation. Just silence. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Lyra Voss, he muttered. Even her name felt strange, like something out of a story rather than real life. But she was real. He had seen her. Twice. And both times, she vanished like she didn't belong in his world. Kael stood up suddenly. Enough. If she knew where he'd be today, then maybe she knew more. Maybe this wasn't random. Maybe there was a pattern. The next morning, Kael didn't go to work. Instead, he went back to the train station. The same place, the same noise, the same chaos. But this time, he was the one waiting. Hours passed. People came and went. Trains arrived and left. But she didn't appear. Kael sighed, running out of patience. Of course. Why would this be easy? He turned to leave. And then, still ignoring warnings I see, Kael froze. That voice? He turned slowly, and there she was. Lyra Voss, standing just a few steps behind him, like she had always been there. Kael stepped closer, anger and relief, mixing together. You don't get to disappear like that. Lyra tilted her head slightly, studying him. I wasn't disappearing, I was resetting. Resetting, he repeated. What does that even mean? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced around the station as if checking something invisible. Then she looked back at him. You came back here, she said. That S new. Kael frowned. New? What do you mean new? Her expression shifted just slightly, like she had said something she wasn't supposed to. Look, Kael said, his voice more serious now. You knew about the accident, you warned me. You said you've lived this day before, so stop talking in riddles and just tell me what S going on. Lyra exhaled slowly. For a moment she looked tired. Not physically, but something deeper, like someone carrying too many memories. I've lived this day, she said quietly. Not once, not twice. Her eyes met his. More times than I can count. Kael stared at her. That is impossible. I know. Then how? I don't know that either, she interrupted gently. It just started. Every time this day ends, no matter what. I wake up back at the beginning. Kael felt a chill run down his spine. A loop, he whispered. Lyra nodded. A broken one. Kael took a step back, trying to process it. So you're saying you're stuck reliving the same day over and over again? Yes. And somehow I'm part of it. Her gaze softened. You're not just part of it. You're the only thing that changes. That hit differently. Kael frowned. What does that mean? Lyra hesitated. Then, in every loop you die. Silence. Heavy. Unreal. Kael let out a short, disbelieving laugh. Yeah, okay, that is not funny. I am not joking. In every version of this day, something happens to you. The accident was just one of them. Kael shook his head. No, that's crazy. Is it? She asked softly. I warned you, and it still happened. He didn't have an answer for that. Lyra stepped closer. This is the first time you came looking for me, she said. Usually you don't survive long. Enough to ask questions. Kael's chest tightened. So, what I am just supposed to believe that I keep dying and you keep watching it happen? Her expression broke slightly. You think I want that? For the first time, Kael saw something real in her eyes. Pain, guilt, and something else. Something he couldn't quite name. Then help me understand, he said quietly. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Come with me. Lyra led him out of the station and into the quieter streets of Velmora. No crowds, no noise, just the distant hum of the city. They stopped in front of an old abandoned building. Broken windows, faded walls, a place no one paid attention to. Kael crossed his arms. This is where you bring people you just met. Lyra almost smiled. You're not someone I just met. That again. Kael felt that strange uneasiness return. Inside the building was empty except for one thing. The walls, covered in notes, photos, timelines. Dates circled over and over again. All the same date. Today. Kael stepped closer, his eyes scanning everything. What is this? My memory, Lyra said. There were pictures of him, different places, different times, but always him. Kael's breath caught. You've been watching me. I've been trying to save you. He turned to her and failed. Her silence answered. Kael ran a hand over his face, overwhelmed. This doesn't make any sense. Why me? Lyra hesitated. Then she said something that changed everything again. Because you're the reason the loop exists. Kael froze. What dear? Lyra looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. In every version it always comes back to you. The air between them shifted. Something deeper. More dangerous. And for the first time, Kael realized this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about truth. Kael couldn't take his eyes off the wall. Photos of him laughing, walking, talking to people. He didn't remember being with notes written in different handwriting styles like they had been written over days or maybe years. Except it was all the same day. You've been through this that many times, Kael asked quietly. Lyra nodded. I stopped counting after a while. He picked up one of the papers. It read, Loop, Kael trusts me, we get close. He dies at 11:16 p.m., cause unknown. Another one. Loop avoided accident. New outcome. Kael still dies. Another. Loop tried. Telling him everything early. He didn't believe me. Result unchanged. Kael dropped the paper slowly. No matter what you do, I still die. Yes. He looked at her. Then what's the point of all this? Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked to a corner and picked up a small worn notebook. She held it like it mattered more than anything else in that room. The point, she said softly, is that one time something was different. Kael's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She opened the notebook and flipped through a few pages before stopping. Then she handed it to him. Kael read silently. At first his expression was just confusion. Then it changed. Loop, we meet. He smiles at me like he already knows me. Loop, he remembers a sentence I didn't say yet. Loop, he calls my name before I tell him. Kael's heart skipped. This doesn't make sense. Lyra stepped closer. That's because this didn't start with me. Kael looked up slowly. What dear? Her voice was quiet, but every word landed heavily. It started with you. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in around him. No, Kael shook his head. That's not possible. I don't even know what this is. You don't remember, Lyra said. That's not the same thing. Kael ran his hands through his hair, pacing now. So let me get this straight. You were stuck in a time loop. I keep dying, and somehow I caused all of this. Lyra didn't argue, because she couldn't. Tell me the truth, Kael said, stopping in front of her. How did it start? Lyra hesitated, and for the first time, she looked afraid. I wasn't supposed to tell you this yet, she whispered. Kael's voice hardened. I am already dying in every version of this day. I think we repass supposed to. Silence. Then? She nodded. It started with a choice, she said. A choice you made to save me. Kael froze. What dear? Lyra's eyes softened, but there was pain in them. Deep, quiet pain. In the first timeline, the real one, there was no loop, no resets, no second chances. She swallowed. And I was the one who died. Kael felt something twist inside his chest. You, he whispered. Yes. She looked down for a moment before continuing. It was an accident, sudden, unavoidable. And you, she paused, her voice breaking. Slightly, you couldn't, he accepted. Kael's breathing slowed, like his body was trying to understand something his mind couldn't reach yet. What did I do, he asked. Lyra looked at him again, and this time, there was something else in her eyes, something fragile. You broke time. The words didn't sound real. They couldn't be. That is not possible, Kael said immediately. People don't just break time. Lyra gave a small sad smile. They don't. But you did? Kael shook his head, backing away slightly. No, there has to be another explanation. There was a device, she said. He stopped. A research project, experimental. Something that wasn't meant to be used outside controlled conditions. She stepped closer. You found it. Kael's mind felt like it was trying to grab onto something just out of reach. A memory, a feeling, something buried. And I used it, he asked slowly. Lyra nodded. You tried to go back. To change what happened. Kael's chest tightened, but something went wrong. The air grew heavier. The moment you activated it, time didn't reset properly. It broke into fragments, and instead of fixing the past, Lyra's voice dropped to almost a whisper. You trapped us inside one day. Kael stared at her. And now we were stuck. Yes. He let out a slow breath, trying to steady himself. So this is my fault. Lyra didn't respond, because the answer was obvious. Kael laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. I tried to save you and ended up killing myself over and over again. Lyra's expression changed instantly. No? Her voice was firm, stronger than before. That's not what happened. Kael looked at her. You didn't create this because you were selfish. She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. You created this because you loved me. Silence. Something shifted. Deep inside him. A feeling. Warm, familiar, and painful. Loved, he repeated softly. Lyra held his gaze. And maybe, she whispered, you still do. Kael didn't know why, but his heart reacted before his mind did. There was no memory, no clear image, no proof, but something about her felt like home. This doesn't make sense, he said quietly. I know. Then why does it feel like I've known you forever? Lyra didn't answer, because she had been waiting. Hundreds of loops. To hear him say that again. Instead, she asked something unexpected. Do you trust me? Kael hesitated. Everything about this situation told him he shouldn't, but everything inside him said otherwise. I think I do. For the first time? Lyra smiled. Not sad, not broken, real. Then we still have a chance, she said. Kael frowned slightly. A chance for what? Lyra looked at the wall. At all the failed attempts, all the endings, all the versions where he didn't survive. Then back at him. To break the loop. The air inside the abandoned building felt different now. Heavier, not because of fear, but because of truth. Kael leaned against the wall, arms crossed, staring at the chaotic collection of notes again, but this time he wasn't just confused. He was thinking, really thinking. If I created this, he said slowly, then I can fix it. Lyra didn't respond immediately. She had heard those words before. Many times, different tones, different emotions, same result. Yuvi said that before, she replied quietly. Kael looked at her, and her silence said everything. Yeah, he sighed, didn't work. Lyra shook her head gently. It is not that simple. Every time we try to reach the device, something changes. What kind of something? Kael asked. She hesitated, then answered honestly, you die before we get there. Kael let out a dry laugh. Of course I do. But this time, he didn't sound afraid. He sounded determined. Then we changed the path, he said. Lyra studied him carefully. There was something different about him now. A shift, a spark she hadn't seen in a long time. Every path has been tried, she said. Kael stepped closer. Not this one. She raised an eyebrow slightly. And what is this one? Kael took a deep breath. We don't run from it. Lyra frowned. We go straight to it. The facility stood at the edge of the city. Cold, silent, hidden in plain sight. Kael stared at it from a distance, hands in his pockets. So that is where I broke time, he muttered. Lyra stood beside him. You didn't break it on purpose. He gave a small smirk. Still counts. The building didn't look special. No glowing lights, no obvious security. Just a quiet structure holding something powerful enough to trap them in a broken day. Kael turned to her. How many times have you been here? Lyra didn't answer right away. Then? Too many. And we never made it inside. We did. Kael's eyes narrowed. And Lyra looked away. You didn't make it out. Silence. Kael nodded slowly. Right. He started walking. Lyra grabbed his arm. Wait. He stopped. You're going to die if we rush in like this, she said. Kael looked down at her hand on his arm, then back at her. I am going to die anyway, remember? Her grip tightened slightly. That doesn't mean I want to watch it happen again. That hit differently. Kael softened. Just a little. Then help me make this the last time, he said quietly. Lyra looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she felt something dangerous. Hope. They moved carefully along the side of the building, avoiding open areas. Everything felt too quiet. This place should have guards, Kael whispered. It does, Lyra replied. Just not yet. He frowned. What do you mean? They arrive at 10:15. Kael checked his phone. 10:02. Right time loop advantage. As they reached a side entrance, Kael suddenly froze. A sharp pain hit his head. He grabbed his temple. Kael Lyra stepped closer quickly. What's wrong? He shut his eyes tightly. Images. Fast. Broken. A lab. Bright lights. Machines. A voice. His own voice. If this works, I can bring her back. Kael's eyes snapped open. His breathing was uneven now. I remember something. Lyra's heart skipped. What did you see? Kael looked at her. But something in his expression had changed. You were there. Her breath caught. In the lab, he continued slowly. You were lying on something like a medical table. Lyra didn't move. Didn't speak. And I was talking to someone, Kael added, arguing. What did you say? She asked softly. Kael hesitated. Then, I said I don't care about the consequences. Silence fell between them. Lyra closed her eyes for a second. Yes, she whispered. You said that every time. Kael looked at her more carefully now. You remember all of it, don't you? Lyra nodded. Every version. He swallowed. That means you remember us too. A pause. A long one. Yes. Kael felt something tighten in his chest. What were we? Lyra looked at him. And this time, she didn't look away. You don't remember? He shook his head slowly. Then maybe it's better that way. Kael frowned. No, don't he do that. Don't he hide it from me. Lyra hesitated. Because this part always broke her. But this time, maybe it would be different. We weren't just strangers, she said softly. Kael waited. We weren't just friends. His heartbeat started to rise. Lyra S.'s voice dropped slightly. Almost fragile. You loved me. Silence. The world outside didn't matter anymore. Kael stared at her. And you, he asked quietly. Lyra smiled faintly. I never stopped. Something changed in that moment. Not just the situation. Not just the mission. Them. Kael stepped a little closer. I don't remember it, he said slowly. Lyra nodded. I know. But he continued, his voice softer now. It feels real. Her breath caught slightly. That feeling, she whispered, is the only thing that survived the loop. For a moment, they just stood there. Close. Too close. And then, a loud metallic sound echoed from inside the building. Both of them snapped back to reality. Lyra's expression changed instantly. They early. Kael straightened. Then we don't have much time. Lyra nodded. But before they moved, Kael reached out and gently held her wrist. She looked at him. If I die again, he said quietly, don't let this be another failed loop. Her eyes softened. It won't be. Kael gave a small nod. Good. Then, they ran toward the entrance. The door creaked open just enough for them to slip inside. Darkness, cold air, and the faint hum of machines somewhere deep within the building. Kael stepped forward first, his senses sharp. This place, he whispered, feels familiar. Lyra glanced at him. It should. They moved carefully through the corridor, their footsteps soft against the metallic floor. Every second mattered. Every decision could be the difference between life and another reset. Suddenly, lights flickered. Kael froze. That didn't happen before, did it? Lyra S.'s voice was tense. No, that one word was enough. Something had changed. They reached a large hallway lined with glass panels. Inside, machines. Complex, unfamiliar, dangerous, and at the center, a circular device, cold steel, faintly glowing. Kael's breath slowed. That's it. Lyra nodded. That's the device. For a moment, everything went silent. This was it. The thing that broke time. The thing that could fix it. Kael stepped forward. But as soon as he did, a sharp noise echoed behind them. Stop right there. Both of them turned. Guards. 3 of them. Weapons raised. Lyra whispered under her breath. Very earlier than before. Kael exhaled slowly. Guess we were doing this the hard way. Hands where I can see them, one of the guards shouted. Kael didn't move? Lyra stepped slightly in front of him. Don't T, she whispered. But Kael's eyes were locked on the device. So close. Too close to fail now. They were going to shoot, Lyra said, her voice urgent. Kael clenched his jaw. I know. Then stop. I can... And then he ran. Kael. Gunshots exploded through the hallway. Lyra S.'s heart stopped. Time slowed. Kael dodged the first shot. The second grazed his shoulder. But he didn't stop, because something inside him was pulling him forward. Not logic, not survival, memory. As Kael reached the center of the room, the world around him blurred. Not from fear, not from pain, but from something deeper. A memory? The same room, brighter, alive. Lyra lying on a table, unconscious. His voice, desperate. If I activate it now, I can bring her back. Another voice, angry. You don't understand what this will do. Kael S. hand hovering over the device. I don't care. The memory shattered, and Kael snapped back to reality. His hand, already reaching for the machine. Kael stopped, Lyra shouted. But it was too late. His fingers touched the surface of the device, and instantly, the entire room reacted. Lights flickered violently. Machines roared to life. A deep vibrating sound filled the air. The guards hesitated. What the hell is that? One of them yelled. Lyra's eyes widened. No, this didn't happen like this before. Kael turned toward her, and this time, his eyes were different. Clear. Focused. I remember, he said. Her breath caught. What? I remember you. Silence. Everything else faded. You used to laugh, Kael said, his voice soft now, at the smallest things. Lyra's eyes filled slightly. And you hated coffee, he added faintly. But you drank it anyway because I did. A tear slipped down her cheek. Kael. He stepped toward her. Even as the room trembled around them, I didn't just love you, he said quietly. Her heart pounded. I still do. For a moment. Nothing else existed. Not the guards. Not the machine. Not the collapsing reality around them. Just them. Lyra stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. You remember? Kael nodded. Not everything, he admitted, but enough. Another violent pulse shook the room. The device began to glow brighter. Unstable. Lyra looked at it, then back at him. Kael, something is wrong. I know. This isn't how it is supposed to work. Kael looked at the machine again, and suddenly he understood. No, he whispered. Lyra's voice trembled slightly. What? Kael looked at her. I didn't need just break time. The machine let out a deafening sound. I made it dependent on me. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? Kael's voice dropped. It means another pulse. Stronger. The loop won't end unless I do. Silence. The truth landed heavily between them. As the light consumed everything, Kael made his choice. The loop collapsed. Time reset properly this time. Lyra woke up in a quiet hospital room. No alarms. No chaos. No repeating day. Just peace. Days passed. The world moved forward normally. No memories of loops. No broken time. Except, sometimes Lyra felt something missing. Like a name she almost remembered. A voice she almost heard. One evening while walking through the city, she stopped. Her heart skipped. Someone was standing across the street. A boy. Familiar but distant. Kael. He looked at her like she was a stranger. No memories. No past. No pain. But as they passed each other, their hands brushed. And for a second, time stood still. Kael turned back. Wait. Lyra stopped. He frowned slightly. I feel like I know you. Lyra smiled softly, tears in her eyes. Maybe, she said, we were meant to meet again. And this time, no loops, no resets,